Well, I'll quickly take everyone through the year ahead in terms of speaker nights, club nights, inter-club nights, Carol's competition calendar, and the forthcoming town centre exhibition. We've got 32 evenings programmed between next Monday, September 14, and June 4th. 11 speakers, 7 club nights, 4 inter-club nights, 7 competition nights, and 2 social evenings. Clearly, the social evenings are likely to be the first casualties. So we'll go on to speakers. One of the perverse consequences of lockdown and use of Zoom is that we can actually spread our net out wider than we ever have done before. And this time we've picked up one speaker from Essex and another from South, 2 from London. And clearly, in normal circumstances, we couldn't pay their overnight stay or indeed the travel expenses. So that's one of the positives. We've got a good mix again of speakers, and some that I was really looking forward to last year who we missed back in the programme. First speaker is Tom Broadbent, at home with the furries. He's a commercial photographer based in London, went on a shoot back in 2008 for a magazine and met a 6-foot husky wolf called Smirnoff. Since then, he got to know Smirnoff and other peoples in the furry community and has photographed them at home in their gardens, in their local haunts. A very unusual project resulted in a book that sold very well, exhibitions at home and abroad. And he'll tell us how he used crowdfunding to make all that happen. It's going to be an intriguing night. Hear him talk about his images and this particular project. Speaker number 2 in October, Steve Hedges. He's Essex-based. He's a big teacher of photography, keen to share with students his experiences, and particularly the lessons he's learned in creating impact and mood with his images. Again, this will be a virtual presentation. He has been shortlisted in a number of national competitions. Andrea Hargreaves, this is a response to the growing interest within the membership of composite image making. Andrea's self-taught. She bought her first camera in 2008 and in 2010 achieved master status. 2010 joined a club, and then in 2018, 10 years later, achieved master status with the Photograph Alliance of Great Britain. Very, very creative maker of images. She says she doesn't have that many Photoshop skills. She has some basic skills that she uses over and over again, and she's very happy to explain how she does or how she arrives at the images she creates. Very special composite images. Andrew Moss, London-based semi-professional photographer, a big club member of the South London Club, specialising in sports photography, but not from the special positions taken up by those work for newspapers, etc., but not in the special press areas, outside these areas, capturing superb images. And I think much to learn from Andrew for those interested in grabbing some great sports images. He did tell me that he was doing a long exposure shoot with 2 cameras. I forgot that he'd left the long exposure settings on one of his cameras, and this was pure serendipity. It was a mistake. He just found it in the camera later. But a really interesting image. Claire Carter. Claire was in the programme for last season and is very happy to do a virtual presentation. Interestingly, when Claire was coming, she was staying with Willie and I overnight. She's travelling up from the Midlands and she was charging £150. Now that it's a Zoom meeting and we get the same presentation, she charges £40 and there's no travel expenses. Another positive, if you like, from the COVID limitations. Claire's images are stunning. Stephen Dodd again, he was in last year's programme, and Carol invited him to judge the middle of the 2 summer exhibition, the summer competitions. He was a very good judge. His presentation very much around demonstrating how he achieves what he does in the corporate world. Again, he's agreed. Very happy for a couple of us to visit him and film the demonstrations in his studio and film his presentation, then bring it back to members. Amy Bateman, a farmer, a mum, and a local award-winning photographer. She won the British Life Photography of the Year award in 2019 and has now become a freelance commercial photographer working in the Lake District in the Cumbria area. Coming to tell us about her love of photography and her business, which includes weddings, family portraiture, and she's now providing photographic tours of her farm, giving amateur and professional photographers opportunities to photograph subjects they wouldn't normally be able to reach. This was the image. This is Amy feeding the poorly lambs. This was the image that won the national competition. Stephen Proctor, again, a response to the interest in the membership for those seeking to branch out and secure external status, external status as photographers. Stephen's coming to explain his journey, and his main subjects are wildlife and people, and the journey he took in joining clubs and then going into national competitions, then seeking the status of good club photographer, good exhibition level photographer. The images here are the images that were in his panel that won him that special status. I'm sure if that night goes well, we'll be able to get him to come back and coach perhaps those interested in going into external competition. Phil Rigby, an interview with Phil Rigby. He's based in Carlisle. He won the Book of the Year prize, A Portrait of Cumbria, Life and Landscape, in 2018. started out as a press photographer and then photographer and picture editor for Cumbria Life, and more recently, the last couple of years, a freelance photographer. He'll come and tell us about the every workday experiences of the professional photographer, the importance of being creative, need to think quickly, to improvise when time is limited, lighting is poor, the demands imposed on him and the positions he's held by editors of magazines and papers demanding the images from him. That'll be an interesting evening for those interested in branching out and into the world of professional photography or semi-professional photography. He's a cyclist and climber and a lover of everything Cumbrian. Andy Gray, he was in the programme last season and again at the end. He uses intentional camera movement to create abstract images, beautiful images. His work is collected on a worldwide basis. And for those who are familiar with Turner, very Turner-esque, very painterly, wonderful images. Dave Butcher is referred by his peers as Darkroom Dave. He has a PhD in chemistry, always wanted to be a photographer. His parents wouldn't let him, so he had to go to Oxford and get a PhD in chemistry. And as soon as he got that degree, he went to work for Ilford. The photography has come to the top. He's been a self-employed freelance photographer for some time now. He shoots only in film, only black and white. He prints by hand on gelatin paper, the highest quality prints that are currently available. His presentation, which can only be face-to-face, he is our last speaker, and hopefully things will have changed by May next year. He will come with 90 20 by 16, 24 by 20 prints captured on a Mamiya 7 camera and large 7 by 6 centimeter negatives. He'll talk about composition, what's good in black and white, what he leaves out, and the problems he encounters working in the field. One of his books, City Light, will feature in the first half of his presentation. When you look at 30 or so cities around the world, he will then take members on a tour of Europe and New Zealand looking at his landscape images. I'm sure for a number of, probably many members of the society now who have no experience of film, who only have experienced digital photography, they will be surprised and I'm sure excited by the quality of Dave's images. I'm really looking forward to this presentation. So that's it. That's our 11 speakers. The speaker nights will be punctuated by intervening club nights. First one on October 5th, showcasing members' interests and images. And here our emerging moving image group have interviewed Ruth and Steve, talked to them. I think Tina was leading a discussion with Ruth, Jan with Steve Worrell, just discussing their interest and their images. I think it's a format that will be very popular with members, and it's something that will continue into the season, and indeed into our speaker nights. The Phil Rigby presentation will take that form. One of our members will sit in one chair, Phil in the other, the images between them, and discuss and talk about his journey over the last 30 years in photography. On October 19, we'll have a club night preparing for the town centre exhibition. Mike, in the intervening period before then, will be filmed mounting images for the exhibition, providing hints on how to do that, how to do it well, where to get materials, etc. We will then hold a weekend mounting workshops, now, as always, for no more than 6 people in Cameron House. So there'll be practical workshops where people can bring their images in and get help in mounting them properly. And we'll do that for as many weekend as we need to assemble a really good exhibition. Showcasing members' interest in images, we'll repeat that again on November 23rd. So I will be approaching members, seeing if they're interested in being part of that. There's a Christmas quiz which will be live and run by Keith, our secretary. We have the prospect of an outdoor shoot World War II reenactment group on a cold January night when it's a bit misty and moody. We can have the smoke machine working and lighting powered from Cameron House and do it out in the car park there. March the 1st, we've reserved for the transatlantic connection, and we'll keep members informed on the form that will take. But my letter was very well received. They thanked us for reaching out and have said they'd very much like their committee to sit down with our committee and work out how we can make it work. Zoom gets rid of the Atlantic, but it doesn't get rid of the 5-hour time difference. So that's something we're going to have to work on. Inter-club nights, we have a Morecambe battle. We have an evening with Morecambe movie makers. We have an evening, as just mentioned, with the Lancaster Camera Club of Pennsylvania. And we now have instituted a new battle with the Keswick Club. So we're a really good array of inter-club nights now. Onto the competition calendar. Carol has introduced you to the competitions. The first one is an open competition, submission date October 12th, judging date November 2nd. Second competition is abstract, submission date November 16, judging date December 7. The abstract, what is abstract photography? Is, as it says here, it's photography that kind of warps our perception of the real world. Zeroes in on familiar objects, colour, texture, line, geometry, symmetry, or reflection of a scene. Some examples here of popular, saleable abstract images. Competition 3 is tabletop. December 14 submission, January 4 judging. Number 4 is nature and garden. That's a January submission, February judging. Then fable, nursery rhyme and superstition. Our president's challenge. February submission, March judging. And then the more familiar, the open annual, March submission, April judging. And then the final competition of the year, the open annual print. And hopefully that will be an annual print at that time, it does produce a large number of prints and the basis for our annual exhibition. So hopefully we can have a proper print competition this year or this upcoming season. Competition awards: Photographer of the Year, Runner-up of the Year, Nature and Garden Best Image, President's Challenge Best Image, Best Annual Print, Best Annual Digital, Best New Member, and Member's Choice. Details are on the website. A couple of images of Cameron House. The hand sanitizers at the appropriate places. The digital input for access to the toilets has been removed, so people aren't sharing the buttons on the digital controls. There's a one-way system. It's been developed with us in mind as much as their daytime guests. I have talked with them about moving one of our screens and one of our projectors into the other room. So we may, through transition, have evenings where we have the same presentation on two large screens with our members divided between the two rooms at safe distance. Lots of options there. And they've been very good with us. They haven't charged us for use of the premises during the last half of this year, but haven't restricted our use of the premises at weekends if small groups want to go in at safe distance and work on projects. Finally, the town centre exhibition. It will either happen before Christmas or in the new year. And clearly the printing mount print workshop and presentation by Mike is there to encourage everyone to think about printing and mounting some images from last season. The membership produced some great images last year, images that would grace any photographic exhibition. And I do hope people will have the courage and the will to get them printed and showcased to a wider public.